So this event will be recorded, just so everybody is aware, and we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Hopefully you can see my desktop. If I can just get a nod from Amy or Jason, that'd be okay, great, because I can see your faces. Thank you. All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Kim Iverson. I am the director for the Northeast Wisconsin Digital Alliance, and we are hosting tonight's Tech Talk. With us today, we have Jason Novak from Faith Technologies, and he'll be sharing a lot about what they're doing at Faith and how their IT department is supporting their businesses as they move into some new business opportunity areas. Also with us tonight, we have Amy Pierce from Lakeland University. She's going to share a little bit with us about some of the programs they are offering at Lakeland University. Before we get too far into things, I do want to thank our investors. It is through their financial as well as volunteer contributions that we are able to offer events like this evening, as well as many other events throughout the calendar year. We encourage you to search our event page and join us for any of the events out there moving forward that you think might be interesting for yourself. I already more or less covered the agenda in a very ad hoc way. So from here, I will turn things over to Amy so she can do a brief presentation. Amy, you should be able to share your desktop if you would like to.
Thanks, Kim. All right. So, like Kim said, I'm Amy. I'm from Lakeland University, and I work at our William R. Kellett School of Undergraduate and Graduate Studies.
Don't think your desktop is being shared, Amy.
Oh, how's that?
That's better.
It helps if you click share, I guess.
Devil's in the details.
Yeah, it is. We work with non-traditional students where we do evening and online classes. At 7 centers around the state. So we have several majors in IT. The first one is we have a computer science major. It's a general major. We do have 2 emphases with information systems and software design, and kind of self-explanatory there. We also have a minor in computer science that students can add to any other major. We are also going to be adding a cybersecurity and data analytics emphasis in the fall, and then developing those both into independent majors, hopefully for the following academic year. We also have a degree major called Industrial Systems Analytics. So that is a combination of programming, high-level math, statistics, data analysis, that is developed for manufacturing industry, which is growing in a need as time goes on. We also have management information systems, which is a combination of business and computer science. So again, some data analysis, some project management in there as well. And then one of the things that Lakeland is known for is our flexible formats to help our non-traditional students complete their programs in a timely manner while trying to maintain also that life, school, work balance. So we have classes that are called Blend Ed, and you have a choice of either going to class each week or doing it online. It's totally up to the student how they would like to attend those courses. We also have completely online classes where there's no in-class instruction. Everything is done online through our online platform and the discussion boards. Excuse me. Also Blended Live and Online Live. So those are a combination of in-person, online, and then a virtual element. So very similar to what we're doing here tonight. And those classes are also recorded so that a student, if they would like to go back later and watch that session, they could. Because our students, they work, if a kid gets sick, they have to work late, something else comes up, we have a wide variety of options for them to attend their classes and continue their degree. We do take up to 72 credits from a 2-year school and up to 90 if you already have a completed bachelor's degree. We do have a lot of students go back and complete their degree. We'll just pretend like I meant to do that. and get a second major. So we do take up to many of those courses, and then we fulfill as many of our requirements as that we can. So if you have any questions, you could also visit lakeland.edu. Otherwise, Kim also has my contact information. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. And I'm just going to ask, do you see the slide deck now? Because it seems that I shared my email before, so we'll trim that part off, and I'm going to just kind of do the entry spiel again so we have it all recorded for anybody who missed it. So welcome to the Tech Talk. We've got Jason Novak will be coming on shortly to talk to us about some of the cool things that Faith Technologies is doing. Again, just a thank you to our investors who make things like this evening possible. The companies here you see, not only do they support the new Digital Alliance financially, but they also support through volunteer efforts, as well as being presenters like tonight. The agenda we went through already. And so now we'd like to welcome Jason Novak. He is a senior project analyst with Faith Technologies. And from here, Jason, the show is yours. And like I said, I'll kind of cut you at 3 minutes out. I'll cut things 3 minutes before the end of the hour so that I can just do a couple wrap up slides. And I'll actually try to stop you a little earlier than that, so we've got time for questions from our audience today. But if you want to go ahead and share your desktop, that would be great.
Thank you, Kim. No, that's great. I'm going to try and share. Just let me know when you see it.
All right. And for those of you who are participating today, if you have questions, please feel free to use the chat feature. You'll find it on the lower toolbar of your screen. You can either type them, or during the Q&A, feel free to speak up as well. So thank you.
Kim, are you guys seeing a full screen for me, or what are you seeing right now? Okay.
I'm seeing full screen, yep.
Okay, good. Well, I guess I can say good evening here. I guess it's evening, even though I know it's light out there. I pulled my shade, so hiding the sunshine, which was kind of scarce today. But I want to thank you, Kim, for having a chance to talk tonight. And I'm kind of looking forward to this discussion. I volunteered to do this, and I guess as Kim said, I'm a senior project analyst. And all that means is I do a lot of stuff with projects, and I also do business analyst work as well. I've been in technology for about 30 years, so I've seen a lot of things, experienced a lot, and it's been fun, and it's still being fun for me. So just want to encourage folks that I've been in this a long time, and I don't know if I'll mention it here. I accidentally got into technology. I was an anti-typer, anti-office type of person. I ended up in the Army, and the wisdom of the Army, I had to embrace technology. So it was a lot of fun. And like I said, technology was exciting back then. I still think it's as exciting now, and it's changing at quite a pace. So with that, I'm going to just kind of go right into my first slide. So I work for Faith Technologies. Probably some of you have heard of Faith Technologies. I know I've been with them about 2 years, and even 2 years ago, I knew some of what Faith Technologies did. And once I came on board with Faith Technologies, I understood that technologies it's not a part of just our company name, as you can see here. It is really embedded throughout our organization. And when I think technology, we're going to talk about our IT department, but the technology is so much deeper internally, what we give externally, and we have technical people embedded throughout the organization. There's just so many things that we're doing as a company with Faith today. And as you can see here, who we are, it's not just one piece here. We are actually 3 different entities. And let me just kind of touch on these a little bit here so you'll understand as I go further in some of the technologies that maybe support one area that help us in another area, that also help us in the third area. So as you look at here, we have Faith Technologies, where you may have heard of in the past, an electrical company. We do electrical contracting, electrical engineering. You see here, we do solutions, we do things with pre-construction, and we're involved in building construction. We're in there helping to run the wires, the cables, and so much more behind the scenes. So that's probably what you might know a little bit about Faith. But again, Faith Technologies is not your around the corner electrician. Faith Technologies, we work on large projects, large companies. I mean, in the Valley, and we'll talk about some of this a little bit later on, working for medical centers and different things like that. So that's really where Faith has kind of come from. but I want to kind of point you to the middle of this slide. We're going to talk a little bit later about tech solutions. Energy is the buzzword today. Green technology, EV, electric vehicles, all that kind of stuff. You can kind of see here, I don't have to talk through it, but energy, fuels, EV, infrastructure. We'll talk a little bit more about this as we get into it. This is just very exciting. It's relatively new to Faith, and it's an area that we're really focusing in on. And then there's a piece here I'll probably talk a lot about as well, Accelerate. I've been in IT about 30 years, probably about 20 of that in manufacturing. So this is an area as well that we do manufacturing. We don't just go out to a job site and run the conduits and the cables and do that stuff. We actually have a segment of our organization here that we can actually manufacture this stuff. And we'll talk about this again. We manufacture those energy solutions and the things that NTech needs. We're able to cut costs and be more efficient for Faith as a whole. So I think I'll kind of go from there, and I'll just kind of dive into it a little bit. This one here, just going to spend a moment on it. Like I said, Faith is nationwide. I mean, we're working in all of these states. This was just a picture to show we're in many states working on job sites. You know, we're on a mountaintop in Idaho where they need to put some kind of massive building, and we're on the ground when they're flattening the dirt, and we start at that point, and we're there until the building's complete. So you can see we're in many different areas. You can see it also talks about NTech. We've got manufacturing in a couple areas, but really Faith, we are across the country. We work with so many different customers and partners. And again, this is a snapshot today. If I gave you a snapshot a year from now, we might be in 6 other states that you would look at that we have a heavier presence in. Just depends on where the work is and where our customers are. So at this point, I'm going to step back into where probably a lot of you in the college area, you're thinking, what is IT at Faith? You can see what I have right here. We call ourselves business technologies. Again, technology is everywhere within the company. IT, we're used everywhere. I know some people in the company that I would call almost IT people that are not in IT. They're embedded within the organization, very smart technical people providing both internal and external support, working on things that we'll see later, software development in our energy sector, dealing with firmware, folks that are out there with computer aided design, as you can see at the bottom right corner of this slide, doing these graphical things to display what we need to do for the work. Again, on the left side, typical things that you're going to see in an organization like ours with a lot of them. Business analyst, that's a part of my role that I do, looking at the problems, finding solutions, bringing people together. You know, many of you have probably gone to school for more of these technical things, you know, application development, developers working on applications. We do that both in, like I said, the IT department, and we'll talk about where we do it in the NTech sector as well. IT support, your help desk, things like that. Project management, again, a key one that I'm part of here, managing projects, working with people. Cybersecurity, this one you hear everywhere everywhere today, and this is as important to us as it is to our customers. We're in the energy sector. We're providing products. We're making things. Security, cybersecurity has to be a part of that. It has to be a part of it from when we start our day to what we put into those manufactured components to when we support it or send it out the door. Systems, networking, I could go on. All of the roles that you think about in an IT organization, database, application support, we've got all of those roles within our department. And we're a large department. I don't know the actual number, but let's just say I think we've got a lot of folks in the department. It's not 20. I can't remember the number in our IT. If I said 50, I may be right, but I don't have the actual number. But there's a lot of folks that are in our BT or IT department, and we're supporting so many of these things. You can see some of the things you see: Salesforce, Citrix, Cisco, Workday, Autodesk, Microsoft. A lot of these are big names. We work with a lot of these big software packages, like probably many companies do, and we have many other smaller things under the hood that we run our business with as well. So this is just kind of a sampling of we work with the big software packages. We work with some of the big vendors. We partner up with other companies, in the Valley and that too, to help and do things. And we have a very diverse workforce in our IT area. I'm going to talk a little bit here business processes driving our technologies. Again, I'm putting on my business analyst hat. I've been a very technical person in my career. I've been in management. I've gone back and forth in the gamut here. But really, the technologies are driven by our business, what the business wants, what the business processes are, what the business thinks they want. This slide here may be kind of a busy slide, but let's take the top a little bit. Many things, applications, databases, all along this pathway. A pathway in a typical business like ours, I mean, I could probably pick some of the other partners that are in these talks, Plexus and whatever. We all provide products and services. We all at some point do estimates. We do orders. Our business here, we do these detailed drawings where I'm kind of hovering my mouse right here. This is a detailed drawing of a building, multi-floor. This is where we're laying in conduit and electrical and networking alongside the air conditioning, the heating, and all the other things in the building that other contractors may be putting in. And then down a little bit to the right, here's more of a detailed product here that we would detail out a subcomponent that fits in to a larger diagram like this. And as you look at the pictures here, it's just a very diverse thing. We're using computer-aided drawings. We're creating small products. We're creating big products. Solar fields, we're into that sector as well. So as you're continuing through customer order, customer fulfillment, we're out there designing, quoting, making, installing, and then also servicing. We have a service piece as well for some of the large customers where we service some of these new energy products that we're putting out there. And so again, along this path of all of the things that we're doing, we have to fulfill all of these pieces up here, the order fulfillment, the electrical contractors on site, and of course, at the end, your invoice and payments so that you as a business can take that, reinvest it, and work with other customers and enhance your technologies next time around. So this right here, just giving you a glimpse that there are, again, databases, applications, people, and processes behind this whole thing. And there's just so many opportunities for technology to be used along this path, both on the top half internally and how we're presenting things more on the bottom externally to our customers, because they do demand drawings and accurate estimates. And then again, to go from a drawing to an actual deployment of a solar field or conduits in the ground between two data centers or something like that, it goes from a thought to a picture to actual implementation on the ground. I'm going to move on to the next slide here, kind of moving my notes ahead here as well. So here's where I'm going to kind of focus back. I gave you the three: faith, NTech, and accelerate. And here's just to give you a picture while I talk a little bit about faith as the electrical contractor where we do commercial engineering. Faith, this is where we came from, but we're so much more than where it started with electrical wiring and conduits and different things like that. Again, the solar fields, I'll pull your attention to the bottom right here. This is a modular unit that's built, shipped to the site, put in place, and then like Legos, put together with other modules, connected up with the conduit and the wiring or the network cabling further into the building to the next component, So today, instead of being out in the field, faith can actually get some of these components that we'll talk about in the next slide with Accelerate, where they can actually make this stuff ahead of time and bring it to them. But here I used an example. I'll go back to the left though. Children's Hospital. There's a data center. This is one of our products, something on our external facing website. I took a few pictures from there so I could say, here's one of our customers. Again, we've got a lot of customers. I can't share all of them with you, but we do things for like hospitals. We work in the manufacturing sector. Let me give you a sampling. We deal with high rises down in the Southeast region, down in Atlanta area. We work with food services. We work with bridges, do a lot with bridges. We're actually also working in the ship sector, electrical wiring and networking in ships. If you think about some of the ships that like the Navy or other things do, in the shipping area as well. There's just so much that we work on because we're an electrical contractor and we can design and engineer what's needed before it's actually built and make sure it's put in place. And then as a general building contractor, focus on the middle, the days of being out there with the tape measures and out there in the mud and all that, what you're seeing here, these are, well, I'll talk about it. I've got a couple of things here that I went and talked to the people that actually use some of this stuff. We've got 3D laser scanning here, where basically the technology here is the tool will, up to 300 feet away, it'll take points of the object within the field of view of this laser rangefinder. It's very fast. You don't have to be out there with a tape measure. You collect all these multiple points, and now you can feed this back digitally into the other technologies to start helping you design within the computer design software what you need to design for this, and go through revisions. Maybe the first time around it's not correct. Maybe the building site changes. Maybe you have to make a change and a modification. But we can get a very accurate reading and do this without taking all the manpower and the time we used to in the past. Also, we've got something called a robotic total station. Sounds pretty cool. Kind of technical, a person surveys a point, reads a bunch of XY coordinates, derives this from a file, figures out the predetermined location on the site, and then again, they feed that in to make the model. What I found out talking to some people in the company with this is so mathematically heavy. There's probably more math used out here with some of these engineers than we would use as an IT person in the IT department. So again, the mathematics behind it tied into the technology, able to integrate that in to present a diagram, to actually start working through that diagram, to actually start figuring out, should we build this on site? Should we send part of this to the manufacturing site? We can make those decisions now, because there are some things that maybe are made better on site or need to be designed while you're there. But what can you actually make in a more manufactured control site? And how can you make this like Legos and make it modular as well? How can you put the pieces together when you design it from a top end with the technology? How can you break that apart and use and send diagrams back and forth for people to mark up and send back and forth? And then, as I'm going to move to the next one, how can you take this and tie it into our manufacturing? So again, I was starting to talk this way, and again, you can probably hear me say manufacturing a lot. I've spent a lot of time since I've been there in the 2 years out in this manufacturing sector, and it's just amazing to me that we can manufacture some of these things where electricians would have to be out in the field, out in the mud, out in the weather, putting together conduit, putting together cabinets, breaker boxes here, putting this stuff together. This thing in the middle here with a conduit duct bank, we can put these things together in the manufacturing environment and ship these. And again, in a Lego type of approach, put these things together, connecting up electrical wiring, connecting up the networking, connecting up the things that feed a data center, that feed a medical center, that feed a campus between buildings, things like that. Looking at this here, you're able to take this controlled environment and you get to address safety in the field. One of the great things here is, what can we take away? We get to remove a lot of the ladders. We can do this in safe hours. Employees can actually go home to families a little bit sooner. We're manufacturing components versus they're out in the field and they just got to get this done before the weather sets in or something like that. If we take all those environmental factors out with as much as we can put into our manufacturing facility, and then also we can do this more efficiently, which you can cut your cost and you can do things, like I said, better, and you can put out more volume. And so you can do more work. So at the bottom, I'm just giving you a sampling of a few things here. You may not know what they all are. I mean, we're showing you like the size of a building with the electrical breakers in it. You open the door and the stuff's all pre-configured, shipped to your job site, dropped on the job site. The electrician hooks up the electrical or the network to it, and the self-contained unit is ready to go. Small little breaker panels. There's technology behind all of those too. As we're talking about things, there's technology going into it. And as we get into the NTech products, we're going to talk a little bit more about the software development, the firmware into some of the larger things. And as I continue along here, here's a tray that your network cables run throughout a building. Think about a hospital. There's so much network wiring and electrical wiring to provide each room what they need so that they can do the surgeries and the exams and the diagnostics. We're in those hospitals helping run this wiring, like Children's Medical did a data center, but we're also in when they upgrade hospitals to get all this in there. Solar panels, we'll talk a little bit more, and then large breakers here. We're actually manufacturing some things I've seen in our one facility, the size of a semi-truck back end. We're putting these huge containers together with all of the stuff inside in an environmentally controlled, lifted onto a semi, delivered to the job site. And again, now all you're doing is hooking up the network and the electrical, or connecting these modular units together as needed. So what you're getting here in a manufacturing environment is taking the work out of the field. But let's go to the top here and talk the technology a little bit here. I've talked about there's firmware and stuff, but at the top of this, we're using various applications, because to make this great container down here, you're going to get raw materials in the door. And those raw materials come in, and you have to use an application to track those raw materials, get them to the right place on the floor, make sure they're scheduled against the right people at the right time. We're getting the right cost for all those things. At the same time, I'm going to go one more here. Whoops. My slides I think I adjusted my slides. Basically, those diagrams I showed you before, those diagrams are also fed into the manufacturing, so that people understand the components, what it actually takes to make this cabinet here. Are there conduits inside? Is there a left-hand bend? Is there a right-hand bend? Is it a 90-degree bend? How will the wiring go through that? So we're using these applications to order, to track, to bring up the picture, to understand our material listing, to understand the work instructions and how to put it all together, to understand the testing of that product. And as I'm looking at here, Autodesk Inventor, just an example, is some CAD software to design some of these components here. There's other software in the middle here that can actually feed data directly into an ERP system that we use. From that ERP system, you can do things you can connect into, if you had to feed into Salesforce. And I just put it here because there are different things we're doing. You can serialize, you can pass information out. Again, you can bring the information in the other end as well when the opportunity comes in. How does that opportunity come in? We get the opportunity, we get the sales order, then we get the diagram. Then we have to feed all that stuff into the ERP, like we said again, and we have to track it all. So just to make any of these things, we're using various amounts of technology, multiple systems, engineers, visual designers, estimators, financial people, all in the background using technology to feed it in, or to look along the way along this path. What are the finances at this point? Where is the product at this point? There you go. There's my picture. It came finally. This is an example of just many things on a ceiling of a building, right? The fans, the conduits, the electrical. We're building those components, but looking at the larger picture to understand that this is component A that goes in the southwest corner. This is component B that goes in the southwest corner. We need to be able to track and manage and tag and label and understand that we're building these Legos, but now they have to get to the job site. And then that goes back to our faith sector, where they have to put those Legos together. So we have to make it with technology and make sure that we pass it along to them so they have the information to put this stuff together correctly. So I can talk a lot on manufacturing, but like I said, in the 2 years I've been here, they use a lot of different technologies out there. Again, we're always changing. We're always looking at things differently. Everything from an iPad on the floor to use for this, to a scan gun over here, to label printers, to label these parts along the way, to at the end, making sure the invoice is printed or the work instruction, so that the field engineer can actually, like I said, put this together. So again, these two play well together, and the manufacturing of this really saves the faith engineers some time and pushes some of the heavy work, like I said, inside. I'm going to pivot to the third area. And I think this is where I want to say is a very exciting area. I mean, NTech solutions, making clean energy smarter. I mean, we're all hearing about this here, and I'll let you absorb this slide a little bit. I'll talk about the areas here. And again, we'll save some time for questions at the end, and I can answer some questions. But with the technologies in all of these areas, I know about a lot of these technologies. There's many smart people behind the faith side and the accelerate side and the NTech side that really understand the depth and the scale of each of these areas. This area here is just, it is an exciting area. Grids. I'm going to come back to that. I'm just going to hit EV charging real quick. I think we all are hearing EVs in the news here, right? Electric vehicles, they're coming. We'll all have electric vehicles. One of the big things is they can build the electric vehicles, but now the electric vehicles have to be charged. We're in that sector, and we'll take a look at some things there. We can build those chargers, or we can get more involved in that sector so that we can be part of that that next energy crest that's coming as cars become more electric and other things like that. We've got grid technology here, and I'll talk about this. We've been doing these grids for some time now, and they're flagged under our NTech product line here. And I talked to one of the technical guys about what is a grid, how does this work, and he gave me some examples of what we might talk about here. Bubolt's Nature Preserve in the Fox Valley, if you're familiar with that, there's an energy grid that was put in there by Faith Technologies. And that energy grid is tied to the solar, and it's also tied to the electrical grid like we have for our homes or apartments. But here's an interesting thing. He gave me a couple of examples of this grid technology, trying to make it more environmentally friendly and solar based. There was an example out there, I think a couple of years ago, they were having a wedding out there in the Bubolt's Reserve, and there was a power outage. A storm passed through the valley and the power went out. The wedding party never experienced that power outage because of this grid technology we put in there. It was tied into the solar and it had backup energy, and they had no idea the power was out in the valley. Again, another storm went through, and there was a group out there visiting and looking at the site, and they were using the main room there to do some presentation afterwards. Same thing, a storm came through the valley, took out the power. None of those people knew there was anything going on until they got in their cars, left the preserve, and got into town and saw the stoplights and stuff weren't working. So this grid technology is really cool on what we've been able to do. EAA, years ago, not last year, but the year before, we've been out there to help put power grids in remote areas of EAA. But what they told me is they were able to use them to help charge the planes and the helicopters, to keep the power up on those. So out in some of the areas there, they put out these microgrids that were, again, tied to different things. You can tie a grid to solar, you can tie it to gas, you can tie it to the power grid, you can tie to all of them, and it uses the man-made, the natural power. And then when it needs more power, it can grab it from the grid, or when the grid goes down, it goes back to its battery backup and to its solar and to its other resources there. So we're into this sector here, and we've been doing a lot with the grids, and it's going to continue to grow and continue to move forward. And again, the technology behind this, we just know solar panels and all that, but we do have software development. We have people behind the scenes working to develop the software behind this. And then we also have the firmware that goes into these the EV charger units or the grid tied microgrids, because over time you've got to upgrade the firmware. Things change. You want to tie something else into your grid. So we've got a very heavy technology presence behind this. And again, an emerging market here with what this is going to be. And it's just exciting to see where this came from. I've been here 2 years, and this just kind of has been growing since I've been there, and just exciting to see where it may go. And the technology people that are working in here, it's great talking to them and seeing what we're going to do in this sector, what they're seeing coming down the road. So I'm going to move one more forward here. Talk opportunities and new technologies. So I've kind of talked what's there. This is going to be kind of a snapshot. And again, I'm going to kind of review a little bit of, there's just so many technologies. Here I put within Faith the microgrids, because we started the microgrids. It's a Faith solution. Again, we put it under NTech because we're rolling out these microgrids. It's, again, clean energy, tying into the grids, solar, things like that. But this gives you an example of a microgrid. Thought I'd just kind of show this picture here. You can tie it into so many different things: a generator, wind, solar. You've got that controlling device. Again, there's software, there's technology behind this. It doesn't just work to just plug these things in. There has to be some logic, some smarts, things that we as technology people look at and say, wow, looking at the technology to connect this up. And then also, like we said, we're making some of the things, the solar, the device, working with the energy storage here. And then we're installing these on sites that need these type of grid technologies. In the center here, I'm kind of showing you a charging station. So this one here is we call it an escape cabinet. It's our NTech, it's a charging station. So an EV charging unit here. Again, this market, we see it taking off. If we listen to what's going on in the market, eventually we'll all have electric vehicles. Well, we'll have to charge them at home. We'll have to charge them when we're out and about in a charging station. Will some offices have electric chargers? We're going to start seeing this type of technology all over our environment here as we get more and more electric cars. other opportunities accelerate here. This here was a mobile unit that was built during COVID, is what I'm being told, for medical things. You can see the solar on the back. You can see it ties into electrical. So this is a unit here that could be connected up and provide the electricity, provide the breakers and the transformers and the connections to connect up at a site that needs it. You can hook your microgrid into something like this. So there's so many different pieces and things that we can develop and come up with here. These are just some of the newer technologies in the last couple of years, or things that we've rolled out. And there's just so many more other things out there as we look. We don't know what the next opportunity is. I mean, there's many things around the horizon that if in 2 years we could predict what was going to happen, we could start a company and be a millionaire. There's just things out there that as they come out, now we'll meet that demand. We'll come up with a solution, we'll test it and take a look at it. But it's really a lot around technology in this energy sector. So I think with that, I've kind of gone through this a little bit faster than I was kind of thinking, but I'm going to leave some time for questions, Kim, like you said. But I just wanted to say, we've got these opportunities. I know many of you are in college and you're looking at there's opportunities out there. I believe it, representing our company, but even the other companies that would be around with this, you're just starting your journey, some of you. There is technology and career opportunities in companies right here outside your front door. Like if you thought Faith was just an electrical company, or we were just electricians, you're right. We have electricians. Oh, you do a little bit of computer engineer. Yep, we've got engineers too. You guys do solar? We do that too. We do microgrids. As you start to look at companies like Faith and others in the area, there is technology within that company to support it. And then many companies like us have to also provide technology solutions externally to our customers. There's just so many opportunities. Again, I'm saying this to you because I've traveled around the world. I've been in other companies and I've worked in technology in many places. It is as exciting today where I'm working now as when I worked in the Army with technologies. This kind of technology here and some of this was maybe an idea or maybe kind of a thought years ago, or maybe even not thought about. But what I've seen here today within Faith and what I've worked on over the years, there's always new technologies, new solutions, new problems, new questions to ask, new products to design, new people to support those products, to come up with the technology to make those products better, to support those products when they're in the field. Like I said, if they've got firmware, they've got software, we got to make sure it works. A microgrid, what if there's a software problem? Somebody has to support that software. Somebody has to design that software. Somebody has to update that software. So with that being said, I think I'm just going to jump to my question slide and open it up, and I will try to answer some questions if you have any, and I'll do my best.
Well, thank you, Jason. That was a great presentation. I think I'm going to actually jump in and I'm going to be selfishly asking the first question.
Okay.
So you were talking about software here just towards the end. Does Faith Technologies write any proprietary software? So, obviously you're purchasing software. You might be supporting the software that comes with some of the physical technology you guys are using, but where it's third-party software that's coming in. But do you write any of your own in-house?
Yes, we've got that software development, and we have proprietary software that we write and manage within the NTech solution there. So around that energy sector, yes, like you said, we've got software developers on the IT side that work with applications and also design some applications on that side as well. But yeah, the exciting thing is we do it in the energy sector too. We have to design the software around that microgrids and the stuff that makes that work. It was so new that you had to make it work. And there's not always something with a new technology where you can just go and buy it off the shelf, or there might be something, but it's not mature enough. So that's, like you said, we're developing the stuff around those NTech solutions and making sure that we've got the software to provide our external customers, make sure that we put the right firmware in there and things like that.
Perfect. We do have a question here in the chat from Will. It's a great question, and one that I was kind of thinking of as well. How are you guys addressing the energy sector from cyber threats now and in the future?
Well, so what I can talk about this one, I know in the NTech, cybersecurity is one of those number one concerns they have there, talking to a couple people in the NTech there, everything is looked at with cybersecurity. When we started to work in this sector here with NTech, I mean, we own some proprietary stuff. We bought some things as well. We had to right away look at it and say, okay, how do we secure this? Because think about, I'll say Blue Bolts is a preserve, right? So they're on the power grid. Now, some people say, are they connected somehow to the internet? Today, everything seems to be connected to the internet. So as you start to look at these energy solutions or these chargers and things that are going out there, that's what we're looking at. What is the security around it? Is this going to be connected into the internet? If so, how do you secure that down? And so, yes, that's a part of everything that we do on the energy sector there. We look at it. The same thing, Faith as electrical contractors, we go, I'll step back even just to our core. Faith goes out there and helps companies upgrade their networking cables, their electrical. I was a consumer of Faith technologies before I came here. The last 2 jobs, I used Faith technologies to come into manufacturing facilities, and I had them help me with the networking, positioning of some of the cabinets, running the cables. And again, those contractors would come in and security would always come up, right? Okay, so you're going to put these things in, and the security questions came up. So even on the Faith side, security is built into our offerings, it's built into our culture. And then, like I said, it's even more at the forefront with anything that we're producing from the NTech sector that we would sell to customers.
Excellent. Any other questions from the group on the call? So Sarah, I'm going to pick on you because I know you're working as an intern at Faith Technologies. What was one of the most surprising things for you when you started working at Faith?
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess for me, one of the most surprising things was just how diverse our department was, in that when I first got hired on at Faith, I got hired on as a project analyst, so kind of more of a project manager sort of position. But really, the company was very encouraging of me to explore what I was interested in, what I was learning at in school, and really encouraged me to go out to the different parts of the department and see what they were working on and see how everything kind of interconnected. So I did work in programming. I did work with databases. I sat in with some of the network guys, all kinds of different things like that. And so it was a really good experience, and in getting to see how all of those technologies really interconnect.
Well, excellent. What a cool experience. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. And Jason, maybe I'll have you cover this one because terminology is not always the same from company to company.
Yeah.
So when you say you're a project analyst at Faith Technologies, what does a project analyst do at Faith?
Okay. No, yeah, I probably didn't touch on that enough. So yeah, coming in, I've been here 2 years. A project analyst, I was going to say, I can say as explained to me or as I do. No, it is the same thing, but I'm wearing 2 hats, and it depends on the project. So let's break it apart that I'm a project manager. That's my main goal. I'm on the project management team for the IT department. So I manage projects, make sure you get the people in the room, make sure that you're scheduling the meetings and keeping things on course. That's a big part of my job. I also wear a business analyst hat. So as a project analyst, it's kind of both roles. As a project manager, you do take on analyst duties, and depending on companies, and I've worked for a couple of different ones, they can break those roles totally apart. They can merge them a little bit. They are 2 different roles. But as an analyst, it makes you think. As you're in a project, you ask some good questions. You understand some of the technology a little bit. I really put on my business analyst hat a lot for the manufacturing sector and ERP systems. So for the 2 years I've been here, I've worked a lot with them, helping with some integrations, do some testing, and I understand some of the technical and business hurdles that they were going to go through, because I've helped upgrade a couple of ERP systems. I've understood some of the processes that build into that. So that's my business analysis side. I, at some points, am heavy on that for a project. Other projects, most of them, I'm mostly a PM, but I'm always wearing that business analyst hat to ask the questions, understand if there's some integrations going on, or I get in contact with one of my fellow project analysts, and ask them about their project because there may be some overlap, or I find a technical person that's more technical than I am and say, hey, I'm seeing something come down, or can I get some understanding here? So the business analyst is a fun role that kind of, like I said, dovetails and helps out the project manager role.
Excellent, thank you. Other questions from the group? We've got one here from Molly. Do you think EV is being adopted more quickly than people thought, say, a year ago?
I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know. I know it's something that we're focused on and watching. And I know if you watch the news, it sounds like it's going to go faster. I guess my opinion is, like 2 years ago, I didn't think it was going to be adopted that fast. But now as you see out there the announcements that EV is coming, or I'm going to say I keep watching those GM commercials, right? There'll be an EV for you in 2030. I think they're building the anticipation. I mean, the more we see it, I think it's building it. So I don't know. I didn't expect it to come as fast. So I guess my opinion, but that's just my opinion on this one. But we're trying to be ready for it. We're looking at those things too, because that is a big market and a big sector. And again, can you have the cars without the chargers? No. But if you build all the chargers and the cars don't come, then you've got wasted infrastructure. So somebody has to look at that together and figure out how that's going to work and how soon that's going to happen.
No, good point. Now, and in that green sector too, it's not just the it's not just the chargers for the cars, but even household solar panels and systems. I would imagine that there's some sort of forecasting one has to do there as well.
Yeah. When and if can people start looking more at solar, right? I mean, I know there's incentives today with the government and stuff. Solar is a big thing out there too. I know I try to keep up on this because we're in that sector, and I do a lot of reading, and I'm actually contemplating. I've looked at solar panels on my house for years, right? And I'm looking at the prices and the breakdown and trying to understand, are fossil fuels going away and when, and do I need to put solar panels on my house? That's an expensive proposition, but it's fun to watch it with us in that sector and see, is this price point going to come down? Where's this going to move? So it is interesting to watch, being part of a business like this. It's fun to read on that stuff and see how it's going to affect me personally, but also how the business is going to move with it as well.
Right. Good. Oh, here we go. What would you say is the most challenging part of what you do?
I was going to say, I've got the two roles. I'm trying to think which one's more challenging, the business analyst at times, or the project management. The business analyst, sometimes trying to put the pieces together, making sure that you've got the right information and you're in the right meetings with the right people. But that's also the project management side. Typically, you're in a project, you try to get that project to flow well and get the right people in the room. I guess it's a similar thing, but right now I'm in some business analyst meetings that are kind of like pre-planning for a project, looking at some things. So that is maybe some of the difficult, a lot of experience, because I've been in some of these sectors, and I've been in technology a long time. I understand a lot of high level things, but I don't understand all the technologies as deep as maybe I did some of them years ago. So the business analyst I think I'm not going to say the most fun, but some days it's the most challenging, I guess, to me. And that's why I'll call it fun, trying to help people understand it, or come away with, okay, here's what we talked about. Now, who needs to have this? What do we need to do with it? And then, of course, I like to, if I'm involved in those, it's like, when do I get this project so we can start going on it?
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've got time for maybe one more question, maybe two.
Good questions. I hope I've given some good answers.
I think you have. Hopefully our students do too. We've got definitely some good answers here.
Any questions?
All
We
right,
have-
so I don't see another one coming in, so I have another one I ask.
Okay.
So if I'm a student looking to maybe, look at Faith as a potential employer, I know, some people are very much enjoying the work from home, work remote kind of opportunities that COVID has provided or forced upon all of us, depending on where you are on that spectrum.
Mhm.
Does Faith Technologies allow for remote work, either full-time or part of the time?
Yes, we're still in our work from home. I guess I can say this: we've curtailed some of our office spaces, and we found that there's a lot of efficiencies, and people can work from home, or a sizable chunk of the company can work from home. Again, just with what we do, though, we're out in the field and we do manufacturing, so understandably, we have to be at the job site or we have to be at the manufacturer. But if you're looking at certain roles, or I can specifically talk like BT, most, if not all of our IT or BT roles, we're all working from home. I don't have a cube anymore. I've probably been in the office twice in the last month. That would be one afternoon and one day. With the job I have, and also you saw our locations, we're spread out. We have people in different places of the country. We may have offices here, Madison and Olathe, Kansas, but we have some software developers, I think one in Colorado. We've got people in different locations. So yes, there are work from home opportunities. I will say it's been different to go to full work from home. I like it. I mean, personally, I feel I'm very productive, and I think many of the folks think that. I know there's other people that like office time. So at present, we do have the opportunity to go in a couple days a week and grab a cube and work from there. But right now, the majority of the office type of staff, we are work from home at this point. And again, it is a big plus, I think. I've been in this career for a long time, and I've worked from home before at other jobs, but it was more of a need or a necessity, or when you were communicating with somebody out of country, or your hours had to change for a rollout for that week and you worked a night shift or something. But this has been enjoyable for me, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you foresee that continuing post COVID?
Yes. I mean, I'll just say our office building went to hoteling, and you have to basically grab a cube when you're in there. I mean, at least our present policy is you could work from the office 2 days with manager approval. And if you needed more, I guess you'd have to get manager approval. But for our team, and I think at least one of my team is on this call, we both work from home, or two, I think there's two from my team on here. We're on the same team. We all work from home. And I guess I could talk to them. I probably go on site more than they do because I work with the manufacturing projects. So like I was in our Neenah facility yesterday for some business analysts, some meetings that we had to have. But it looks like it's going to continue, at least for the foreseeable future.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. Any last questions from the group? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share the wrap-up slides now. So thank you, Jason, so much. We appreciate the presentation and sharing with us about Faith Technologies. I definitely learned a lot I didn't know about before engaging with you. So has been great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hopefully, can you see my presentation slide again? All right, I'm a little paranoid after having shared my email earlier. All right, so for the students on the call, and even for those of you joining us from Faith Technologies, just to learn a little bit about some of the services the Alliance provides. So how can we help you? So students, there is a job board out on our website where we help post, or at least connect you to the job boards at companies like Faith Technologies, our various investors. If you are looking for a job or an internship, we also help get your resume in the hands of the hiring managers and their technology recruiters within our investor organizations. So we can help get that directly into the companies for you. And likewise, we are also sharing their job openings. So if you're staying abreast of our communications on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and even Instagram, you can kind of see what all is going on out there and hopefully see some of those opportunities that maybe your peers aren't seeing yet. If you need a resume review, we're happy to do that for you too, and just help you prep that resume for that first job search. And then of course our tech talks like tonight. This is a whole series we do. We have another one coming up in May, a little bit more on that in a minute. And then if you're not graduating next month, we will also continue the series next academic year. So we do take a break over the summer. And then when we're able to move into a more face-to-face environment too, we also help facilitate connections with local technology leaders and host a job and career fair in November every year. So as far as other opportunities for you to engage, May 4th, we have a couple of professionals from Secura who will be sharing ITIL and cybersecurity practices and certifications with us. So we hope to see all of you back for that session as well. And much like this one, it too is free, because that whole Tech Talk series is free for everybody to attend. Likewise, our quarterly meetings are free. We don't yet have our topic for July ironed out yet. But we last week we had a quarterly meeting, and the topic there was digital transformation. So we brought in a guest speaker from Milwaukee to talk about that. So some of those conversations too are very pertinent and relevant for our college population. And then we would invite you too to join us for our October 14th Tech Talent Summit, where we share data that we've collected on the talent pipeline here in Northeast Wisconsin. So everything from what's K-12 doing to help grow that digital skill set from in their arena, to then what programs are available at our institutions here in Northeast Wisconsin, our colleges, and how many students are in that pipeline there. And then looking at the professional space too, we take a look at what are some of those roles that our local companies are struggling to fill. Where is their workforce as far as aging out, and so what kind of effort are they going to have to backfill their IT staff as staff starts to retire. And then we also compare against some national trends. So we kind of share all of that, and then we bring in some panel speakers and so forth, and have some roundtable discussions focused on that digital talent pipeline. So we invite all of you to join us for any of those upcoming events, and hope to see you there. So with that wraps up today's Tech Talk. Once again, thank you, Jason, and thank you, Faith Technologies, for being our speakers today. Truly appreciate it, and hope to bring you back for another event next year.
Thank you so much. It was fun. Technology is great.
That it is.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
You as well. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.